Get out to the forest.
Let the kids connect to their roots. It's gonna be so much fun. Yeah! Woo-hoo!
Hey, guys, wait up!
And discover the wonders of nature with your family.
These trees are the key to our way of life.
Fresh air.
What a glorious morning!
Clean water.
Woohoo! This is great!
And endless forest adventure.
Let's rock this jungle! Yo, this is untapped territory.
How amazing!
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Welcome to this edition of Life's Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. My special guest, the Executive Director of the Lighthouse, Suzanne Capelletier. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here today.
Pleasure.
There are a lot of questions that I've been asked by people to ask you, so
Okay.
I'm not going to ask any of those, though. Let's start out with, in your position, how long have you been at the Lighthouse?
Been at the Lighthouse 31 years.
Holy smokes.
Yes.
Now, is this something you wanted to do when you were growing up?
I've always wanted to be a social worker and work for justice, and so this seemed, after I graduated from college, it seemed like the perfect place to be able to do that. There was a lot to do.
Oh, absolutely. Where did you go to school?
Well, I'm a Bobcat and a Buckeye, so.
Well, that's okay. Well,
I know.
Yeah, so that's good. I mean,
got my master's at OSU. So.
did you? But you graduated from the Harvard on the Hawking.
Yes, I did.
Okay. When you first started 31 years ago, did you think it would be what it is today?
No, I did not. We've been able to. I've had a really great board of directors, and we've been able to, with their help, see where the agency needed to head, and it was. We went from almost $16,000 budget, and we are at $500,000 now.
Wow.
So, yeah. We, in the first year, served 200 people that I was there. We're up to 1,500 people a year on average now. So
1,500 people?
Yes, yes. And,
Wow.
We've added programs. It's not just a shelter. We've added programs to that. We have a full range of counseling services that provide for both adults and children. That provides help to get over the effects of the trauma that often is accompanying the emotional trauma that often accompanies being victimized. And we also have a victim advocacy program, and we meet every person that's called police and has filed charges. We meet them at arraignment, and we serve about 800 people a year in that program alone.
Wow.
So you don't have to live in the shelter to receive any of the counseling services. We have that available for those that are living in their own homes and just wish to try to deal with some of the issues that they're facing.
So when people come to the Lighthouse or refer to the Lighthouse, is there a cost? Is there?
No.
Just talk a little bit about the administration of the Lighthouse.
All the things that we provide, all the services we provide, we are free of charge to the individual. And we receive support from a variety of different places, a variety of different funding sources. The Attorney General's office here in the state of Ohio, the Office of Criminal Justice Services in Ohio, donations, of course, we depend very heavily on that, our local United Way, and we also receive ADAM Board money. Alcohol, Drug Abuse, and Mental Health Services Board.
And we're going to talk about that because there's a levy coming up.
Yes, there is.
It's going to be on a November 4th ballot. But the Lighthouse itself, in your eyes, I guess, has it changed to the point that if we had unlimited funding, we could do this?
Yeah, we still have a lot more work to do, and I would like to see a much more extensive prevention program, and to be able to get into the school system and teach people about the warning signs and red flags for abusive relationships, because they are there.
Sure.
It's just a matter of being able to recognize them.
One of the things I was talking about was with some other people, if you recognize that or you see something, what should you do? Should you call the Lighthouse? Should you call the police? Is just what should somebody do?
I think that calling the police is certainly an appropriate response if you see an act of violence taking place. I think being aware and being supportive to the victim is also very important. And victims oftentimes won't leave after the first incident. It's on an average of about 36 incidents before they eventually decide to do something.
36?
Yes, that's an average.
Wow.
But, yeah. And some people it's far fewer. Some people it might be more. Some people never do call law enforcement.
What reasoning? I mean, just different reasons.
Afraid,
I
yes.
guess.
A lot of it's being afraid, feeling to blame for the problem, being financially dependent upon the person. So there's a lot of reasons why people stay or don't.
Mm-hmm. Now, are these the victims? Are they the age group pretty much the same? The younger, the older?
We have served people as old as 85.
Wow.
And we have served a number of women who were battered by their adult sons that were living in the home with them. Elder abuse is quite a problem in our community. The average age is in the early 30s. They usually have children, but we've had women of all ages in there.
We're talking with Executive Director of Lighthouse, Suzanne Capitini. When you first, I guess, realized how bad this was, do you talk with other counties, I guess, or other areas and say to you, how are you combating, how are you fighting this? What are you?
Yes, we are a member of Ohio Domestic Violence Network, which is a statewide coalition to address domestic violence issues. And it's kind of a planning and education and prevention body, and they also do a little bit of lobbying to strengthen the laws that we have prohibiting domestic violence and human trafficking, and that's another issue that we've had women that have been trafficked. And,
here in Fairfield County?
Yes. So it's what we try to do is build them up, make certain that we try to repair the emotional effects and keep them safe at the same time.
Now, if someone, can they call the Lighthouse? Is there a number that, what's the easiest way?
Absolutely. And it's a 24/7 number, and we're there all the time. Trained staff, regardless of day or night. It's 687-4423. And we welcome the 3 a.m. in the morning call, so people shouldn't be shy about calling us when they are able to call us.
Have you ever been in a situation where you thought, boy, this can't get any worse? This just can't get any worse?
As far as...
I mean, just the violence,
I have to say that a part of what's kept me there for 31 years is the realization that we've still got a lot more to do. And I think that every person in the community deserves to live free of fear in their own home. So those have been kind of the motivating feelings that I've had in trying to plan to address these issues. So.
Well, we talked earlier about the election coming up for the Adam Board levy, which is issue 4. Talk a little bit about that. And I know there's a lot of information, and we're going to allocate a lot of time to this. So let's talk a little bit about issue 4 and the levy itself.
Sure. The Adam Board, I think people oftentimes get it confused or don't know really what the Adam Board does. They are the providers of funding, and they manage the programs, set standards for intervention here in the community for people with mental illness, substance abuse, victims of domestic violence, victims of child assault. So they fund a broad range of services to help alleviate those problems in the community. And Lighthouse itself, and I know the other agencies that they provide funding for, I know that they couldn't exist if they didn't have. And so some of the agencies besides ours is 211, which is our information and referral site, and New Horizons, the Recovery Center, Mid-Ohio Psychological, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and Lutheran Social Services and some of their veterans programs. which I think are really important. Fairfield County's Family, Adult, and Children First Council, which takes a look at forming coalitions and trying to
Right.
create solutions for things like domestic violence and child abuse and things like that, and also Fairfield Medical Center.
Right.
They, if somebody is in need of hospitalization, the Adam Board will pay Fairfield Medical Center to, if they're indigent and have no funds at all, then they will pay for treatment for them inpatient. So, and they also pay a great deal of money for emergency services, which is out at the hospital.
Right.
So if someone's in crisis, they can either call or come out and be seen by a master's level therapist.
Right, and so the financial part of it should not be concerned for people.
Exactly.
They need to understand that's there.
That's right. That's why Lighthouse is able to do
Right.
what we do. It's because of them.
A couple things that I know in regard to the levy, and people always have these questions: why do we need the levy, and is it going to raise my taxes? Those are always things that people.
Yeah, and it's not going to raise your taxes. It's a renewal levy, so it's not a replacement, so it's not an increase at all in the property tax that you're paying, and. I guess the levy is necessary because renewing that will enable us to, all these agencies that I've talked about will enable us to continue to address issues like drug and alcohol abuse. We have a horrible heroin problem in this community. It helps to address that. We have people that are homeless and have no jobs, and 211 helps with that. Victims of domestic violence. So it speaks to the quality of our life as a community here.
And this has been about 30 years that we've had the levy in place.
Oh yes.
And one of I know we always talk about loss of dollars, and if they allow, I know the board is given different things to do, but talk a little bit about the board itself and what they plan on doing with this, with the levy money.
The Adam Board, they contract with us and the other agencies I mentioned, and they provide the funding in order to do a lot of the programs that people enjoy on a prevention level and treatment level. And they set standards for the agencies as far as the quality of care that people receive. And it's like I mentioned, it's very important that the crisis intervention is there for people, and so it prevents suicides.
Right. The board itself is made up of individuals? Just
Yes,
talk
there
a
are people.
little bit about
Three individuals are appointed by the county commissioners. 3 are volunteers. 3 more are appointed by the state of Ohio, and so it's a 9-member board, and they meet once a month, and. Once a month for the general meeting, but they meet many more times during the week, and in order to do effective and efficient planning.
One of the areas people always talk about is if we don't have the levy, what happens? Well, we lose over $2 million in services.
Exactly.
And
Which will be a significant blow to our community.
If people came in and right now and we're talking about, we just don't need it. I mean, that's a tough argument to say. I mean, yeah we do.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. I don't know how we would be able to function.
And if the levy doesn't pass, people always talk about what if. So if the levy doesn't pass, maintain the current services, what do we do?
So the current services will be cut. They won't be some won't be available at all, and they'll certainly be much more restricted as far as the mental health services go.
So when people ask about, I guess we're talking about the levy coming up, issue number 4 coming up in November. If people want to help, they're watching the show and say, well, gee, what can we do to help out? What's the, contact you, contact the Atom Board? What should they?
Contact me, the Atom Board. We do need volunteers. We need to get the word out. We have a lot of work to do. Yard signs, mailers, anything that people calling on the telephone, talking to your friends about it. If you want these services to continue, I think it's going to be important that we all just kind of sit down and talk.
You mentioned earlier that the Atom Board meets. Where do they meet?
They meet at the Atom Board office on Main Street. It's on the corner of Broad and Main.
Okay. And open to the public? People
Absolutely.
Come in? What
Absolutely. 6:30. It's the fourth Tuesday of the month.
I know that we've talked a little about different things, but who needs the services? And as I'm reading, it says 1 in 4 Ohioans?
Yes.
Wow.
Suffer from mental illness, yes.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Is that something that's discussed a lot with lawmakers and those type people? Or?
Well, being a social worker, I could tell you I'd like a lot more discussion about that, Mike. But
okay.
But yes, I think that and what's caught people's attention now, I guess, on the state and national level has been the prescription drug abuse problem and the opiate problem, and I think they're making very good strides, significant strides in. Getting rid of the loopholes that enable people to obtain these medications when they don't need them, and so I'm grateful for that. But enforcement of the law as it stood. So
that's one of the questions that to the people who say, we don't have there's no drug problem in Fairfield County.
Yes, we do have a drug problem. It's a very significant one.
I guess when we talk with people that no, we don't have that. You're okay, yeah, we do. And again, why do we need this levy? There are so many issues that are going on.
Exactly.
Now, will there be any? I want to say campaign meetings before the election that people could go to, or are they scheduled already? Or
well, you can. They're going to be talking about the whole campaign significantly. At each of the meetings, which is the fourth Tuesday of the month at 6:30. But they also have a web page, and they have a tab that you can click on that will talk a lot about the levy and what it's going to be used for. And the one thing that, in my 31 years, the one thing that I have to say about the people on the Atom Board is that they've always been excellent stewards of public funds. They go to the nth degree to make sure that every dollar possible goes directly to serving people. Right. So I think that's an important point for people to remember too.
The people that are on the Atom Board now, can you tell us who they are, or is that?
Yeah, I can tell. I can.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm not sure I remember all of them.
That's fine.
Maybe
the three
one of them.
Okay.
Pat Marshall, who owns Service Master. Yeah. He's the president. Marion Raitano, she's a realtor in Pickerington and has been involved. This is her second term of 8 years, so she's been involved for a long time. Of course, the Atom Board staff are wonderful people too. Rhonda Myers is the director, and she's very bright, very motivated, works tirelessly to make sure people are taken care of.
That was you handled that very well. I didn't mean to ask you. I was just thinking.
Okay.
I don't know who's on the board as well. Maybe Suzanne will tell us. But to someone coming into social work now that wants to get in this field, advice, comments.
It's a very rewarding field. I can say that. It's something where your heart actually has to be in the right place. It's not something you actually you can't learn it. You have to. I mean, you learn something. You have to go to college, but but it's something that you have to feel as strongly about as you do about learning. So.
If Suzanne Capitini weren't doing the executive director leader of the Lighthouse, what would Suzanne be doing?
Oh my, that's a tough question. I haven't imagined myself doing other things, but I think probably if I were to do another, I would do therapy. I wouldn't be running. I wouldn't be an administrator. I'd be out there working alongside someone to make a difference in someone's life.
And you juggle so many things. I mean, is there a time when you're thinking, boy, how are we going to get this done? I know, just because the Lighthouse has been very successful. So, but sometimes there's got to be a point where you thought, oh, how are we going to do this? You know.
Well, and I do have those moments. I certainly do, and I have a strong support network. And I have to say, I have a wonderful board of directors. Some of them have been on there for 20 years.
Oh my God!
And so they've stuck right by me and given me excellent advice and mentorship. And I don't know what I'd do without them. I also have a really, really talented staff. I mean, they are as motivated as you can get to make sure that domestic violence does not harm one more person. So they're right there working in the trenches every day, and they do a great job.
One of the we talked earlier about notifying. You can call the White House at 687-4423 anytime to get information or report. Do you think domestic violence is one of those that's kind of pushed aside a little bit more so than people think? Oh, okay, yeah, Sally and Bobby had a misunderstanding, but.
Well, and I think people nowadays are taking it a lot more seriously than they did when I first started. I think attitude was everything when it came to dealing with the problem of family violence, and it started with the police department, and I mean they didn't have the power to arrest back then. And so
really?
Unless the victim signed a complaint, a victim oftentimes is not going to do that. So back in '97, when they passed VAWA,
VAWA?
Yeah, Violence Against Women Act on the federal government, every police department in this country had to develop a preferred arrest policy. And what that means is that you can, a law enforcement officer has the ability to go into those situations and make a decision about who the primary aggressor is and who's going to jail. So instead of putting the perpetrator in the back of the car and riding them around the block a few times so they calm down, they actually have the teeth when they walk in to do something, and that's been a huge help. I think also the fact that people know that there are services available, and I think that makes a huge difference. That they're not going to walk this walk alone ever, and once they call us, we're going to be right there with them and help them do what they want to do about it, not what we think they should do about it, but what they want to do about it. So.
Moving forward in the next 31 years, ideas that you would like to see implemented, or I guess when you live in a world of unlimited budgets and those things, is there something that, this would be,
we need a larger shelter.
Okay.
We have a waiting list oftentimes, and that's not okay.
Sure.
I mean, we try to make sure that they're safe, but sometimes it's just, can you wait 24 hours? Which is nonsense, but we don't have the room. So I would love to have a bigger shelter. I would love to see us in the school. I would love to have people in the
school system.
Yes, talking about dating violence, family violence.
What is I guess maybe the question is, why can't that be in a public school or private schools? I guess why can't it be in the school system?
Well, we don't have the staff. Number one, and number two, the people in the school systems have very little time now because of their mandates as far as what has to happen. So, but there can also be extracurricular activities, but I would like to see somebody there. I'd like to see a therapist in the emergency room when individuals come in that specializes in trauma-informed care, and be able to address the fears and the issues that trauma brings. So those are the things I would, if I had a wish list, that's what I'd guess.
That would be. Well, and I know a lot, and that's going to start again with the renewal issue 4 coming up, the Adam Board levy, which is coming up November 4th this year. Make sure we get out and vote for that. anything that you would like to get out that, I know we talked a little about phone numbers, websites, information that you would like to get out to the public, either about we've covered the Atom Board levy, but about the Lighthouse or anything that you would like to?
Lighthouse has we have a Facebook page or posting. If you'd go on there and like us, we would like you, and we'd like you back. And you can get a lot of information there about the agency and about upcoming events. So it's.
That's a lot of stuff to do. And again, the cost should not be considered.
Absolutely not.
If you need this help, you need to.
That's right.
To
Free of
call
charge. Absolutely.
And get that taken care of, and get the again 687-4423. We'll get you or you can get talk to a counselor at that time. Well, Suzanne, it has been great having you on. I mean, the time has flown by,
Yes,
and
it has.
And we appreciate. We had a little confusion this morning
That's all right.
about time. That was my fault, but we do appreciate everything that you do for the community and everything that you have done in the next 31 years. That well, you're only 20, so you're
Right. Yeah, I got a few more years. Yeah.
But again, we do encourage you to get out and vote for the Atom Board levy, which is issue 4 coming up on November 4th. So, thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's we'll get you back on maybe after the levy and talk about all
That'd be
those,
great. I'd love it.
those things that we do. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller, and remember, until we meet again, let's make a difference.
Of hero. You've been a hero. Took a heroic effort.
Every day we bring to our fans the world of sports. We speak of heroes and heroism, but there are days when sports matter little and heroes matter more. These heroes don't hit walk-off homers or buzzer-beating threes. They simply made a plan for what to do when disaster strikes. You never know when you might need to be the hero, because you never know if today is the day before a natural disaster. Prepare, plan, be a hero. Visit ready.gov.